What's up, YouTube? Welcome to the Celtic Clydesdale Show. I'm Jim, and I am the Celtic Clydesdale. In this episode, I'm going to take you for a little bike ride with me, and we're going to talk about the Rev3 Williamsburg Olympic Triathlon that I did just a couple weeks ago. Let's make it happen. All right, here we are on my bike ride, and let's talk about that race. Excuse me while I interrupt the video for a second, but I have to let you know something. It turns out my microphone is way better than I thought it was, and as such, during this video you're going to hear such annoying things as the clicking coming from the bottom bracket of my bike that needs to be replaced. You're going to hear the ratcheting of my free hub, and you're going to hear cars and birds and other nature sounds. There's also a section where you're going to notice the audio changes dramatically. My primary audio recorder skipped a couple of seconds, and I had to use the audio straight from my GoPro camera. I'm trying to do the best I can to get these videos out for you guys and make them top quality, so if you would, bear with me. Now let's get back to this video. The race, as I mentioned, it's the Rev3 Williamsburg Olympic Triathlon. It's held at the Chickahominy River State Park in Williamsburg, Virginia. The swim is held in the Chickahominy River. The bike ride happens, well, the course was basically some public roads there in Williamsburg. A lot of the ride happens alongside what they call the Capitol Trail, which I believe is a converted rail trail that runs from Williamsburg, Virginia to Richmond, Virginia. And I've never personally ridden it, but I hear it's a really nice ride. I know a lot of people do it to get in a century because it's 51.2 miles from Williamsburg to Richmond. So what they'll do is they'll basically ride Williamsburg to Richmond, flip around, come back, and a little over a century done. But it's a very nice course. The run itself is actually on the Capitol Trail. The trail itself is pretty flat course. I mean, it does have some undulating to it, but nothing incredibly hilly. For the most part, not a whole lot of elevation change. The same with the ride. There was quite a bit more elevation change on the ride than what I'm used to. I'm going to tell you now, for the duration of this ride, there won't be a single hill. All right. The elevation changes for most of my rides over 25 miles will be maybe 10, 15 feet of elevation change. And I guarantee you those happen, a foot at a time. So yeah, it's very flat where I live. But anyway, that's a bit of a course description. First off, I'll say that my wife and I, we spent the weekend up in Williamsburg. We got ourselves a hotel there, hotel room in Williamsburg. We went up Friday night. Really didn't do a whole lot Friday night. We just kind of chilled out, played some cards in the hotel room, and watched a little bit of TV. Saturday morning, we went out, had ourselves a little pre-race day mini golf session, and we did packet pickup. Saw some friends from the Conti's Triathlon team, and just kind of chilled out, played more cards with the wife in the hotel room, and tried to just be relaxed. Sunday morning was race day. Honestly, I woke up, I was a little bit nervous. It was my first triathlon, since 2018 actually. So, which oddly enough, the last triathlon I did was a Williamsburg Rev3 sprint tri. So anyway, the day of, I was pretty nervous. First triathlon in a long time. I was also a little bit nervous because I didn't get into open water a whole lot during my training. But I thought I was pretty confident about my swim. Race starts, we're heading to the swim, and as we got down there, we were noticing that the way the swim course was set up, you put into the water from basically a boat dock, and as soon as you were in, the current started sweeping you. And unfortunately, the way it was set up, you had to swim out from the boat dock about 150, 200 meters or so, and it was all across the current. And the current was pushing people so badly that you really had, in order to make the first turn buoy and keep that on the right, you really had to swim against the current, which was terrible. And honestly, it took everything I had to keep going. I just barely made it to that first turn, and by that point, for some reason, I was completely gassed. I couldn't get my rhythm down with my breathing, trying to do forward crawl. So I did a side stroke the entire time, and end result, I ended up coming out of the water dead last, but somehow still managed, well, thanks a lot to the current, I still managed to pull off an in-race swim PR. I went from my fastest previous in-race swim was 52 minutes, and I went down to just over 40 minutes. So a 12-minute reduction there. Unfortunately, in the process, I started having some breathing issues. I was having trouble catching my breath. No real chest pains per se, but just a lot of difficulty catching my breath and breathing. Anyway, came out of the water and I expressed some concern that I wasn't doing well. The race director was actually there, followed me out of the water, and as he was talking to me, he's like, look, I understand you have concerns, but let's get to transition. Go ahead and see if you want, go ahead and try to do the bike. He's like, if you really have trouble, we can have somebody on the bike course pick you up and bring you back. Or if you can finish the bike and you don't feel like you can make the run, what we'll do is we'll bump you down to the aqua bike. So I went ahead and agreed with that. I took my time. There was about a quarter mile between the swim exit and transition. So I kind of took my time getting to transition. Got into transition. I was starting to feel a little bit better. I was like, you know what, I'll go ahead and try this. So I got on the bike, got out, and I wasn't feeling horrible as soon as I got on the bike. Went ahead and got going on the bike. About a mile in, I found my groove, and I won't say I was hitting on all cylinders, but I did not feel horrible. I was doing okay. So I kept going. Now, I will say the hills that I hit during that ride took quite a bit out of me. But I did okay. I think I averaged a little over 17 miles, somewhere between 17 and 18 miles per hour for the course of it was actually a 27.2 miles, I think, a little over 27 miles for the actual bike course. I finished the bike course. Unfortunately, right at the end of the bike course, there's a large climb for a bridge that, I don't know, for some reason I was coming up behind someone and they were going much slower than I was up the bridge. So I decided to go ahead and overtake, and while overtaking, push a little extra to do the overtake, and I really exhausted myself pretty rough on that bridge. The last climb came into the back into the park, came up to dismount, transition, and by this point I knew there wasn't going to be a way to make the run. I didn't have it in me. I knew if I went out on the run, it would really work against me, physically speaking. So I made the decision to go ahead and tap out on the run. Found the race director, had a discussion with him. It's like, I can't do the run. If I go out and do the run, I'm gonna hurt myself. Something bad will happen. I don't want to risk it. He informed me that he'd go ahead and switch my entry over from the Olympic triathlon to the Olympic aqua bike, and that was it. Told me to go ahead and do the finish run through the finish chute, and basically my time was that of the swim, my transition, and basically from the time I crossed back into what should have been T2, that was my overall time. Overall, aside from the physical issues I had, I thought it was a great race. The race director doing what he did, setting me up with the changeover of, you know, my entry from the triathlon, the Olympic triathlon, to the Olympic aqua bike. That, you know, I don't want to make it sound like he did me a favor. I think it was a really cool thing for him to offer to do. I don't have a DNF on my record for another triathlon, which, you know, that's cool. And I really enjoyed the event. I can't say I particularly enjoyed the swim, given that the swim was so rough. Honestly, part of that is on me. I would say I was undertrained, particularly because I did not train much at all in open water. Almost all of my training was pool training. You know, that kind of bit me in the rear end. The other part of it is, even if I had gotten in some open water training, the areas local to me where I do my open water training, there's no current. All right, I really, without going out of my way, you know, as far as like getting in a car, driving and going places, I really have no place to go to really get in good training to handle swimming against currents or across currents or what have you. So yeah, it's something that in the future I'll have to think about. I have decided that I will probably, unfortunately, step away from triathlon a bit, and I think moving forward I'll focus quite a bit on doing duathlons, and that's the race in a nutshell. Started out expected to be, you know, Olympic triathlon, but I listened to my body when my body was telling me it shouldn't happen. All in all, wonderful race. I got to hang out with some friends and teammates, obviously. I got a weekend, you know, away with the wife, which was really cool. Physical issues aside, I had fun, and I really enjoy the atmosphere of racing, and I enjoy being out there racing. So even though what happened did take place, I'm not giving up, okay? I'll probably not shy away entirely from triathlons, but I'll certainly shy away from any triathlons where the swim is in a body of water that I'm going to have a high probability of fighting currents. Because, you know, I really don't have, I know my own ability, and honestly, I lack the ability to handle currents very well. So, yeah, it's not the end of triathlon, it's just a bit of a throttle back. And I'll go ahead and focus on duathlons, you know. So, yeah, that's that in a nutshell. And yeah, let's go ahead and close this thing out. All right, there it was. That was the race recap for the Rev3 Williamsburg Olympic Triathlon turned Olympic aquabike. It was a fun race, and I'm going back next year. But next year, my plan is to hopefully do an Olympic duathlon in the same venue. And honestly, I think it'll be great. If you happen to live anywhere near Williamsburg, Virginia, I highly recommend getting on the Rev3 website, which I'll link down in the description, and, you know, register for some of their races, especially if you live near Williamsburg. Register for the Williamsburg Rev3 event. They have all sorts of races associated with the event. You know, they got a kids race that they do. It's a kids duathlon that they do. They've got a sprint triathlon. They got a sprint duathlon. They got a sprint aqua bike. They got a 70.3 distance race that they do. They've got basically the aqua bike, the Olympic aqua bike, like I did this year. They've got, I was told by the race director, next year they're going to have an Olympic duathlon. So all sorts of races that they have available, and it's a very well put on event, and I highly recommend going and doing it. The area is beautiful. The ride is a beautiful ride. The run is pretty beautiful on the Virginia Capitol Trail, and quite frankly, yeah, I'm going back next year, and it's going to be awesome. So I hope to see some of you there. If you do happen to show up, you know, hey, look for me. I'm not hard to find. I'll be the guy running in a kilt. So until next time, keep on keeping on.